What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and we're extremely close to the official reveal of Call of Duty 2020. More Treyarch developers have gone dark on Twitter, some of which even deleted all tweets, which is very interesting. And we also have some new events that do end tomorrow that I just learned about yesterday. And on top of that, we're going to be talking about how Call of Duty 2020 could actually be playing a pretty large role in the release of next generation consoles. We actually learned some new details about the PlayStation 5 that actually does affect Call of Duty quite a bit. Definitely stay tuned throughout the entire video. We have so much to dive into. Now also be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and have the bell notifications on to ensure you never miss an upload. I also offer memberships here on my channel. The highest option does grant you access to free merch, exclusive intel, and an early look at some of my upcoming bangers for the next few weeks. More information about memberships is down below when you hit the join button. But first and foremost, as a bit of a recap, we have two in-game Black Ops 4 events. The first one is a big XP event across all game modes except for Blackout, sadly. That ends tomorrow on the 14th. And we also have a new free Ultra Weapon Bribe event in Black Ops 4, where if you log into the game, Treyarch gives you one free bribe, and they also cut the price of the bribes in half in case you wanted to buy them with either COD points or with reserved cases. Had a whole video about that just a couple of days ago. But then I learned about a new event as of, I think it was 2 days ago. We have a Call of Duty franchise sale, which for whatever reason also ends tomorrow on May 14th. Super big coincidence, not sure what's going on there. And then on top of that, we have the in-game double XP for World War II. Now it was pretty fitting to add double XP in World War II since they actually added it in on VE Day, the day in real life when we actually won World War II. So they didn't specify when that ends, but I would not be surprised to see that end tomorrow on the 14th as well. But obviously in real history, May 14th, 1955 is when the Cold War deepened as communist states signed the Warsaw Pact. Russia and 7 communist allies responded to West Germany's membership of NATO by signing a treaty of mutual military cooperation, which split the Western world into 2 distinct camps. And just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder with these coincidences on May 14th, we also have Operation Junction City, which did begin on February 22nd, 1967. It was an 82-day military operation conducted by the US and the Republic of Vietnam. That actually ended on exactly May 14th, 1967, the largest U.S. airborne operation since Operation Market Garden during World War II. So what is the deal with May 14th? We know that there is a surprise game reveal thanks to Summer Game Fest tomorrow as well. All of this lines up and just has to be Call of Duty. It doesn't have to be a trailer, but at least a title reveal of some sort. And what is the other evidence that we're really close to a reveal? We have more Treyarch developers that have gone dark on Twitter. So I already covered when David Vonderhaar went dark on Twitter. I think it was last Saturday or so, and I actually talked about it on stream while I was going for Platinum in Black Ops 3. But we actually have more developers that were brought to my attention by some of my good buddies, Scorpiolo, Nanikos. So let's take a look at who went dark. We have Brian Toohey, the audio director at Treyarch, the GOAT himself, responsible for the beautiful sounds we hear in the Black Ops franchise. We have Dan Olsen, a principal engineer on the core engine team over at Treyarch. They just don't have timeline photos. We have Ben Brinkman, the executive producer at Treyarch, doesn't have a timeline photo. And then on top of that, I just learned about Dan Bunting, who doesn't have one either. But it doesn't seem like they put it as like a blacked out photo, so they didn't actually put their timeline photo as like darkness. They just left it blank. And I know Vonderhaar actually blacked it out a couple days ago, and he also just has it blank now as well. So could this all be related, or is there some massive coincidence happening where they just don't want timeline photos? I'm just not sure. But if you see the Treyarch Twitter, change their photo or anything over the next few days, then that's more evidence to support what's going on here with them changing their pictures on Twitter. But the thing with it is that Dan Bunting actually deleted all tweets, which I find very fascinating, and it usually signifies a fresh start of some sort, right? Not just on Twitter, but for whatever game they're actually working on, right? A fresh start with tweets to get ready for the new year of Call of Duty. Vonderhaar has done this several times. Before Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4, he changed his photo to pitch black and deleted all tweets. This time, Vonderhaar changed his photo, but didn't delete all tweets. And the thing is, he changed it to pitch black at first, and now it's just blank. So I wonder what this means, right? I really do feel like there are some big teases going on with Treyarch, and this is probably the most they can tease going forward. Who knows how much else they can actually do, right? But it does kind of tell us that it is a Treyarch game coming out, right? It's funny how, big content creators have indirectly stated that it is a Treyarch game. We know that they know, and Charlie Intel has also pretty much indirectly said it as well by by saying that this fall we're seeing a Treyarch Games release, but it's so funny how Activision couldn't say it during the recent investors call, and I'm like, why are they keeping this from us, right? Just tell us who the lead developer is, because telling us that alone is enough to hype the community. But they are worried that announcing a new Treyarch game could ruin the franchise because of how, poorly received Black Ops 4 was. But the thing is, you can't really avoid it, right? Not telling us during the phone call and then telling us, 2 weeks from now is not going to make much of a difference. It's really not. So I don't see what the point is. Once they're still deciding on it, like I said before, they could end up announcing, that this game is a co-developed game between both Treyarch and Sledgehammer equally, and then Raven is a support studio for both of them. Or they can, have some balls and say it's a Sledgehammer game and that Treyarch's really just helping Sledgehammer a little bit as a support studio. But I don't know how they can get away with that, considering this game is a Black Ops fucking game, right? And then on top of that too, with Activision saying during their phone call that the game looks great and is still on track to release this fall, it's like, if it looks great, then why don't you tell us a little bit more about it, right? But, we'll have to wait till the reveal till we can finally get some information on what this game is all about. But the PlayStation 5 is something that I find really interesting too, because I personally feel like I'm not ready for next-gen consoles. My PS4 Pro is probably like 2 years old. I had a standard PS4 for quite a while and finally upgraded to the Pro after dealing with some issues. But I don't know, I just feel like next-gen consoles are coming a bit soon, but when you really think about it, it has been a solid 7 years, of life for the consoles we have now, and that's kind of a similar amount of time that we had the previous generation consoles as well. So the time is up for our current gen consoles. But today during Summer Game Fest we have some official PlayStation 5 gameplay that was finally revealed, the Unreal Engine showcase as well, on top of the announcement of PlayStation Studios. So quite a bit is going pretty well for Sony right now. Maybe not The Last of Us 2, but some other things are going pretty well. But here's the thing, right? In terms of a final release date of next gen consoles, a recent leak surfaced that apparently the release date is during the month of October and not deep into November or December like the PlayStation 4 was all those years ago. So what does this mean, right? If Call of Duty 2020 is still on track to release in October like we've had with previous Call of Duties, then the game itself is probably going to be a launch title alongside the PlayStation 5. What does this also line up with information that we heard from verified insiders like the Woo Lads a couple of years ago, that there's this big contract, right, that Sony and Activision signed. The contract states that Activision has to remaster the original Modern Warfare trilogy for Sony, essentially, right, to have PlayStation exclusivity. The game will still release on other platforms, but it still has some type of deal going for PlayStation. And then in return, Sony would make Call of Duty 2020 a launch title for the PlayStation 5. And by launch title, I mean a game that comes out right when the PS5 drops and has several different bonuses in game, for owning a PS5, a possible PS5 bundle in terms of like a skin on the console itself. Now, I also did hear that apparently Activision does want a Treyarch game to be one of the first titles to release on the PlayStation 5, which does line up obviously with the fact that Treyarch obviously is making a new Call of Duty that does release later this fall as well. Maybe they want that because of popularity. They feel like if a Treyarch game releases alongside next-gen consoles, it'll have better chances of selling better on the PS5 versus an Infinity Ward game or even a Sledgehammer game. So it seems like that contract is definitely making a lot more sense now. Activision and Sony are, putting a lot of money together and making things happen. So with that being said, right, with Call of Duty Ghosts in 2013, the game itself released a couple of weeks before the release of next-gen consoles, or I should say, current-gen consoles. So the game actually released on PS3, Xbox 360, and then once the PS4 and Xbox One came out, the games were kind of ported upwards, to those consoles. Not many differences in the actual game itself, a couple of tweaks with, graphics and gameplay and such, but not too much. But, that happened. But this time around with the release of these consoles, it seems like the game could come out at the exact same time as the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. We'll just have to see how this ends up working. But with that being said too, it's like, I guess the game is going to be available on all platforms at once, as opposed to releasing on current gen and then being ported upwards to next gen a couple of weeks later. Hopefully it's not a disaster, but one thing to keep note of too is that we really haven't had a exclusive, PlayStation bundle for Call of Duty aside from the Black Ops 3 one, right? Where the console and controller, both have an exclusive skin that are tied to whatever game is coming with that bundle, right? We only had it with Black Ops 3, and the console looked incredibly sexy, but I already had 2 standard PS4s at the time, so I didn't end up getting it. Then I now have the white PS4 Pro, which looks amazing. But I know with World War II, there was a camouflage type of console that released, but it didn't say World War II on it, so it wasn't really tied to the Call of Duty franchise. So, you know, besides that, we really haven't had an exclusive PlayStation for a, you know, current Call of Duty. So maybe this upcoming game is the game we end up seeing that. I would love to see like a Treyarch logo on the console and whatever theme is going for the campaign, whether it's Cold War or Vietnam or both. But that is about it. Leave all your thoughts on this down below in the comment section. Is the COD 2020 reveal going to be tomorrow, or are all these things just a coincidence and the reveal is still like a couple of weeks away? Leave all your thoughts down below. If nothing happens tomorrow, I probably won't have a video out, but if something does happen, I'll have plenty of coverage first here on the channel. I have some other surprises coming out on Friday and throughout the weekend as well. Be on the lookout for that. This has been dkdynamite, and peace out, everyone.